All, welcome to Hybrid Learning. So today we are going to continue the types of chemical reaction. This is part 3. Now, today we are going to particularly look into two important types of chemical reaction, which is displacement reaction and double displacement reaction. Okay, so let's get started. So first we will talk about displacement reaction. Now, what happens in a displacement reaction? In a displacement reaction, one of the element is going to displace the other elements from its conjugative solution. So we can see a reaction here, iron plus copper sulfate, which is forming iron sulfate plus copper. So this is an activity, very important activity for your exam point of view. So what do? You see there is an iron nail. Okay, so this iron nail has been dipped inside a copper sulfate solution, which is having a characteristics blue color. Okay, now after that, we wait for some times. What do we see? You can see the second test tube beside it. This is the test tube after we have dipped the iron in the copper sulfate solution. You can see the color has particularly faded. You cannot see the blue color here anymore, right? You can see that the color has faded here. Okay, and see at the iron nail. The iron nail has got a deposit, a brown deposit on the iron nail, right? So what is this? So this is the iron sulfate which is formed. This is a very, very particular and important type of displacement reaction in which we can see that here iron has displaced copper from its copper sulfate solution, forming iron sulfate and copper. So technically, a displacement reaction is that reaction in which a highly reactive element is going to displace a lower reactive element from its conjugative solution. So what's a highly reactive element? Those elements which have a greater tendency to transfer electrons or exchange electrons. Those are highly reactive. And the other one, which are low reactive, they don't have the tendency to donate electrons or take part in the chemical reaction. Okay. Now we can have other kinds of reactions as well. So we can see here zinc, which reacts with copper sulfate, forms zinc sulfate plus copper. So successfully, zinc has displaced copper from its copper sulfate solution, forming zinc sulfate. Another reaction you can see here, lead plus copper chloride gives lead chloride plus copper. Here, lead has again displaced copper chloride, copper from the copper chloride and forming lead chloride plus copper. So this is all about displacement reaction. Now the next topic is double displacement reaction. Yes, from the name itself, you can understand that it's a type of displacement reaction. Now, why it is called a double displacement reaction? Because here both the reactants take part. Okay, so there's a characteristics example as we can see here. You see there's a test tube which has a barium sulfate, barium chloride solution, and this has a sodium sulfate solution. We are mixing both of them. Okay, what do we get? So sodium sulfate plus barium chloride gives barium sulfate plus sodium chloride. Now, a very important part that you should understand here, the barium sulfate which is formed is actually solid. Do you see? So if you see this test tube here, can you see below something is there? Some solid residue. The solid residue is called precipitate. So sometimes these equations are also known as precipitation reaction. So what happens in a precipitation reaction? Precipitation reactions are usually the double decomposition reaction only, where the production of a solid form residue called the precipitate is being observed. So this is the precipitate which we see, which is formed below at the test tube. I hope you understood both the reactions. Okay. So here I'm giving you some work today. You need to identify the type of reactions from the following. So 4 reactions are there. We'll discuss the answer in the next video. So stay tuned and follow us for more. If you have any doubt, please let us know in the comment box. Like the video and do subscribe to our channel. Bye-bye everyone. Take care.